Hello my friends, and thank you for joining me here at Breedon on the Hill Church. As you know, this place is very special to me, and it's not unlike thousands of other beauty spots which dot across the landscape of our nation, which means so much to local people, grounding them in a deep sense of place that is both unique and universal. This church is most famous really for two things: the view you can see as far as Nottingham on a clear day, and the rare Saxon carvings. A monastery was built here when the Kingdom of Mercia was at the height of its powers, with some very beautiful carvings which we've retained today. In the 10th century, the Kingdom of Mercia and the other Anglo-Saxon kingdoms united to form a new nation, England, or Angerlander, the land of the Angles, a nation that has stood proudly for centuries, weathering changes, celebrating victories, always moving together, moving forward. But now our nation stands on a precipice unfortunately of our own making. We have allowed globalists with no care for our nation, or for the nations of our brothers and sisters around the world, to buy their way into the command structures of our countries, and they seek now to transform the vibrant colours of our nations into one bland and uniform shade of grey. They poison our blood with untested medical products. They poison our bodies with food drenched in pesticides. They poison the minds of our children by spreading the nonsense that men can be women and women can be men. They poison our very freedom by trying to take away the energy that we heat our houses with, we light our way with, that's driven our progress throughout the centuries, and package it up and redistribute it to us as they see fit. And the politicians you elect to represent our nations assist them in their mission, which is nothing less than the murder of those nations. But things are changing fast. The control mechanisms of these globalists are actually a house of cards glued flimsily together by the compliance of the masses in ignorance of their true power. The overreach of COVID has slapped many of us, myself included, wide awake. Movements around the world are saying no and reaching back to their own nations, and realise if they rest on their own sovereignty, the house of cards can easily be pulled apart. As more people wake up, the more these billionaires and their pet bureaucrats realise that their power and their control is actually slipping away. Since that control is actually based in fear, it's their natural instinct to dial it up on us, to redouble their efforts. So we must learn to live our lives without fear. We need to laugh, to live and to love in the face of adversity. There is nothing to fear from a virus that kills at approximately the same rate as annual influenza. There's nothing to fear about climate change, because the climate has always changed. And as they shepherd us towards a third world war, how will fear help us if that nightmare comes to pass? The only thing you should be afraid of is a future planned by globalists, whose project requires your compliance and has no room for your links to special places like this. These people will not relinquish their power easily or lightly. We're going to be in for a bumpy ride. But when it's over, and it will be over, we will be able to build a new nation, something better than we had before. The Saxon kings and queens and countless English men and women fought and died so you and I could live in a nation that was prosperous, safe and free. The globalists have a different plan for our future, but all we have to say is we will not comply. All we have to say is no. And their plans are dead and buried. Thank you very much for listening to me.